Hello, everyone. Good morning. How is everyone today? My name is Stephen Kaplan, and I want to welcome you to my 10th show of the Spin It Social Hour. It is a real pleasure to be here with you. I am a social media and visual strategist and a former supervising photo editor for the New York Times Wire service. I started the Spin It Social Hour as a labor of love born out of care and concern for my photo community, for our photo community. And I wanted to do something to give back to a community that's been hit very hard by this crisis that's going on economically and in many other ways. And I wanted to promote other photographers and let you learn about their journey and their work around the world through all of my experience and all of my years in social media and photography. So it is my pleasure today to bring on Jamie Harmon. But first, I wanted to say a few things. We are going through an incredibly difficult and chaotic time in this country. My thoughts are with everyone. We can no longer allow this to happen. The system and many things need to be fixed. So, rest in peace, dear George Floyd. I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to now let you see a great part of Jamie's work before we bring him on. So I'm going to bring up this wonderful presentation. Enjoy it. Jamie's project, Quarantine Memphis, has documented 812 families with another 350 waiting. Memphis-based, Jamie just wrapped phase 1 of this project, an incredible undertaking during which he documented all of these individuals and families. I want to draw now from an interview with Jesse Davis of The Bitter Southerner. In the Bluff City, where gatherings are a way of life, taken for granted, Harmon, camera in hand, sets out to document the new normal. With his quarantine portrait series, he peeked, always with permission, through windows and into Memphians' lives, capturing a slice of life, of what life looks like under lockdown. The series is understandably somber at times, but the images resonate with an undeniable sense of hope. With no further ado, I bring on Jamie Harmon.
Hey there.
Jamie, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This project you've been working on is just phenomenal. It captured my everything from the beginning when I saw it. I saw when you were featured on CBS Sunday This Morning with Jane Pauley. And then I got in touch with my good friend, Carla Baranakis. She actually touched base with me, former copy chief of the New York Times, national copy chief. And Carla basically said, I need to put you in touch with Jamie through Buzzy. And you know who Buzzy is. Buzzy is?
Yeah. Buzzy worked at our own Memphis photo supply for so many years. And that was the regular spot to be able to get anything you need photographic before digital age and afterwards as well. But yeah.
Right. Well, I have to tell you, folks, I want to say one thing. We're here to get Jamie's name out there, to get his work out there, to let you learn about his journey. So please hit the share button on this live stream. Make sure that all of your friends and family and network see it, because we want to make sure that all of these photographers that I bring on, that as this crisis hopefully subsides and alleviates sooner rather than later, they'll get more work and more projects. Julia Weeks, long live Memphis Photo Supply. Julia's from the AP Images, and she is a she's from Memphis.
Nice.
So anyway, Jamie, I showed that wonderful compilation of your through together. Tell us about how you came about doing, tell us about your work.
So this project specifically,
Yes.
I mean, when we all were kind of sent home here in Memphis on March 13th from work, right. The schools closed, and kind of it became like a real thing. Although most of the people that I knew, we all were told April 1st, we're like, we're going to shut down for 2 weeks. So everyone kind of had that number in their mind of like, well, we're going to do this for 2 weeks. didn't really know what we were. We were ignorant to what was really happening, I guess.
Hmm.
So I just thought, well, this will be a 2-week project. This seems something that will keep me busy. Once I was told, you get kind of scared when people tell you can't go anywhere, you have to stay home. But once I learned what the rules were and what the real dangers were, then I just followed those rules, like keeping distance, don't go in people's homes, don't touch anyone, don't touch any of their belongings.
Hmm.
Alone, you can't have an assistant because then you'd be exposing those people. So, once I realized that it was doable, I just started doing it, and then it turned into 2.5 months or more than that,
Right.
instead of just the 2 week.
Right. No, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I basically 812 families, you told me, with another 350 waiting. When you told me that the other day, it blew my mind. I mean, that is a lot of work. I mean, you have been literally working 7 days a week, I think. And that's why I wanted to squeeze you in on a Saturday, because I know you're busy and I don't want to infringe on your time. And then you also spend 4 to 5 hours a night, I've learned, editing these pictures.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, there was a sense of urgency, I think, for it was like, if I thought it was only going to be 2 weeks, and then I started getting like 100 people that wanted their pictures,
Mm-hmm.
really felt it was a sense of urgency. So I was shooting 20 a day, 15-minute shoots. So every one of these was around 15 minutes or less for each shoot. But then at the end of the day, you have to edit them all. So you wind up having, 6 hours or 8 hours of editing just to get through that day, which so eventually wasn't possible.
Right.
Eventually it just became, okay, the editing is going to have to just be in the background, and then we'll move forward with shooting. After May showed up, once I got through April, I kind of slowed down to about 12 to 15 a day instead of 20. But and then it slowly diminished to 6 to 10 a day and so forth. And that's what we kind of ended on a couple days ago. And by the way, my wife Leah Keys, about a week or so into it, it became very apparent that I could not schedule everything and shoot everything and edit everything alone. So
Mm-hmm.
she took over the scheduling, and that was, I think, the idea of going to 812 homes following maps seems ridiculous.
Wow.
But texting and emailing every one of those people to schedule a time that's good for them throughout the day seems even worse. And that's what she did.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm showing these photos right now from the Bitter Southerner website because that story, a little excerpt that I read before from, I'm going to mention his name again because I want everybody to know. The
Yeah.
story was by Jesse Davis, and those were some incredible words that he wrote. So I just wanted to flick through this, get to some of these that they showed in that article to give them props and credit. But just an incredible undertaking, Jamie. And I'm going to switch over here to your website. Tell everybody what your website is for this project.
QuarantineMemphis.com was a website that I put up in probably a couple weeks in as well. I realized that Facebook was going to just be a jumbled album. So I made a very simple website that is just nothing but the photos.
Right.
It hasn't been updated. I think there are about 350 photos on there now. So it doesn't have the full 800, families represented yet, but it will within a couple of weeks.
Right.
Although that may be too many anyway, but I feel that everyone needs to be represented. If they took the time to have me over, I'm going to take the time to put their images online where they can at least know that they're archived in a way.
Right. No, I mean, you really have tackled, just so much with this project. And so one of the things that, as we're telling everybody about your work and sharing with everybody, is that I wanted to ask you was, what was it that made you realize that you were going to be a photographer? And how did you get started in photography? Because we really should have started with that. That was
we have an hour. I love this because I get to mention my mother's twin, Charlene. Originally Charlene Weed, my Aunt Sherry. She went to visit a family in Germany in the early 80s and came back with a Yashica a Yashica rangefinder camera and gave it to me. And I was, I think, 11 or 12. and it was a gadget. It was interesting. My mother worked at Walmart, so I used that camera, which is sitting on top of my mother's refrigerator right now.
Mhm.
And she would process the film, and I would take pictures of ditches and forts that I built in the woods, and that kind of got me hooked on just documenting things. So I still have a few of those pictures, a
Right.
weird self-portrait as well. I should have sent that one to you. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then I just did that all through high school and all of life, whether it's what I did for a living. I always had a camera with me, and I always just documented anything that happened to me in the day.
Right. Right. No, it's always the story I love to hear because everybody has a different story, So, and they're all so important to know about and learn about. So one of the things also, well, obviously we're going to tackle this. What were you working on? What I'd like to know is what were you working on before COVID-19 hit? And then when the pandemic hit, obviously I know that, you were at home with your wife and kids. You had to figure out a way to stay creative. What happened and what are you working on now? Obviously it's this, but could you share some insight into what you've been doing to stay creative and busy with this project?
It seems almost ridiculous, truthfully. What I was doing uh, just before this was something really more whimsical and silly, of course, because everything was fine.
Mhm.
When it comes to COVID, not comes to the rest of life necessarily.
Right, of course.
There was this silly little thing I was calling complementary objects, where I was just photographing people where I worked because I was kind of in a place where I couldn't leave and roam the streets every day. So I set up kind of um, a simple little photo shoot where I could take pictures of people. It was all black in the background, and then I would Photoshop an object next to them. And actually, there is the Instagram complementary objects
Mhm.
has all those images on it. But once this started, then we had to keep our distance, and that was really just something for fun, just to keep me engaged with other humans.
Right, right.
I also run a maker space for Crosstown Arts, which I know we'll talk about in a little while.
Absolutely.
And people come through there, and I get to see people and work with people on their projects, whether
Mhm.
it's laser etching or photo or silk screening or whatever we have to offer. But the photo stuff is a way that I can keep engaged with other humans. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm always using the camera to figure that out. And not just to engage, but also give these people something. So it has to be, for me, it has to be something, any project I'm working on has to be something where we collaborate in a way, and then you get something from it. You get something for free, or we trade or barter or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, there's things you do for money, and then there's things you do because you just feel compelled to do them.
That's right.
And there's always something that I'm compelled to do that is not going to make money, or it might. I never know.
Right. I mean, it's about the work. I mean, the bottom line is we all have to make a living, but for us as photographers and many other artists, it's about the work. It's about doing something that we're passionate about. It's about doing something that's going to teach people something about life and society and the world, make this world a better place that way, make people think, because people have to think about all these issues, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's police brutality, whatever it is. We need to think about these issues, and we can't be silent about these issues. We have to be a part of everything to be a part of the solution. Correct?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, so the thing is that I wanted to talk about this more about what you did with. Sorry for 1 second here. One of the things I drew this quote. Luckily, my kids are older. My routines have always been pretty adaptable or chaotic or whatever you want to call it. The routine of chaos is fine with me. I'm the same way because I'm always bouncing around. So obviously, that's a large part of how you work too.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky and privileged and all those things. I can't explain, uh, how I feel about it or how I react to things. I mean, I try to think before I react, and my wife really helps with that too. Having people around you that you can at least ask, do you think that's a bad idea? And even if they do think it's a bad idea, it doesn't mean it is. It just means they think it is. And then you just weigh all those asking your friends. And it was the same with this project. I asked my wife what she thought about it. I asked friends what they thought about it, because at first I thought it may be seen as dangerous and I was being reckless by going out and interacting with other people when we were supposed to be, like staying home. I think that was the slogan. And I think after talking a few days with my wife, we realized that it wasn't the stay home meant don't go to the club, don't go have a party, don't, go to a concert, just follow the rules. And I photographed a few friends first and then put it out there. And then it felt like no one was angered or threatened by it. So I continued.
Okay. The thing is that when you're working on something like this, you're away from home hours of the day, for hours of the day. And then you come home and you have to do all of this. One of the things I want to quickly touch on, because this is a discussion about photography and social media and digital. I mean, how do you you're doing all this work and then you have to get it up on your website. You have to post them on Instagram. You have to get them on Facebook. How does this take place? I mean, how do you handle all this volume that you've been handling?
I guess it's just a system, especially now that it's digital. I come home, I dump the cards onto an external hard drive. For this particular project, I just started numbering every person. So I would dump the cards onto external hard drive, and then I would, number one and the person's name for that day. And then eventually it's up to 812. So I always know how many I've shot. Right. And they're all in a row in the external hard drive by numbers, by person, and each person has the photographs. And then I would go through that person and pick the pictures I've taken that I thought were worthy. And then I would slightly edit those and then save them back into the same folder. There's also RAW files and JPEG, so they're all separated that way.
Okay. Because I was really curious about that, because I'm impressed. I mean, you are not only an incredibly creative photographer. I think your work stands for itself, speaks for itself. Is that the volume of all of this? Because that's one of the things now. Having been in this business a long time, having been a former photo editor at the Times, as I stated, and I've worked with the Pulitzer Prizes 3 years in a row, doing live stream and live social media and stuff like that, doing visuals. There's always got to be a system in place, because you have to be very systematic when you're handling a lot of stuff, whether it's live or doing all these creative projects and then getting them up the same day. And like you said, a huge part of this is coordinating everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't have been able to do it. It was definitely a 2-person team effort to be able to do that many.
Right.
I mean, I could have done it. If I would have done it alone, it would have been half that easily. And I would have been insane. I probably wouldn't have lasted as long as I did, because one person got to do the scheduling. Now I had to do all the shooting and all the editing and all the uploading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to that anyways.
Right.
New system I had. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I put together a slideshow, that slideshow that I showed, and also more stuff we'll go through in a minute after I finish asking a bunch of other questions, because I want to be able to go through it with you, including Amurica World, which you have, which is your other website. We'll show that as well. Is that we owe a lot to our families for putting up with us for doing a lot of this stuff too, because we're dedicated and we have a true passion for what we do. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what are the emotions like for many of the subjects during your time together, and how long do you take with like each family and individual?
Well, when I'm with them, their emotions are great because there's something that was happening.
Right.
But through the discussions, I mean, I would have at least a 10-minute discussion with every single people. So every single family, at least 10 minutes, sometimes more, because something would cancel and I have a little bit of time.
Okay.
But at the moment I saw them, they were all in a great mood because there was something to do to distract them from what was happening before I got there or after. Although we did discuss, everyone I think was on the same page that yeah, right now we're happy there's something happening, but at 3 a.m, I'm lying awake panicking, or
right.
When I go to the restroom, I can be alone for my kids and
right.
and cry about it, and then compose myself and resume, or cry in front of everyone. I mean,
sure.
I know I at least, broke down at least once a week and, had to just let it out. And then and then, like, and luckily I realized, like, this is what's happening. I have to just cry, and then I can move on
That's
instead
right.
of thinking I'm going to be crying forever.
No, I understand. I really do, because I've been an emotional roller coaster myself with all of this. I mean, there's so much going on at once right now in our society. And the COVID thing has been just devastating. I mean, that front page of the New York Times that they ran just a week ago of 100,000 deaths on the front page with all the names and other, it brought me back to 9/11 when I was an editor there, and we did the portraits of grief and other things, and it was just brutal. It was just brutal to deal with some of this. But so I ask, what was going through all of this? What was actually, let's start with this one. Is there one word that defines this project and series of photos for you, and what would it be?
Man, it's funny. I saw that other question and I thought, oh yeah, I remember those, but this question's a little different.
Well, I just thought of this one before the show, and I hope I didn't throw you, but I wanted to ask that in terms of, what's one word when you define this project with one word? Nobody's going to hold you to it, but what is it that pops in your mind?
The first thing that pops into my mind is collaborative. I mean, and that's kind of just the way I feel about everything anyway. Even if I'm working with someone and they don't even say anything, or they don't feel they have anything they've given me, just being there is changes the equation, changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, location, I don't know. The people were all I needed something and they needed something.
Right. No, you know what? They needed something, and you certainly gave back to them too, though, man. I got to tell you, because I'm sure it fills their hearts to have some of these photos, because, families are spending so much time that they never thought they'd be spending together, including empty nesters with their kids back who had to leave college and come back home and be with them. And then, of course, you have all the pets in the house. I mean, it's a full-fledged, remember the old cartoon, family circus,
Yeah, but there's also, I mean, that's the thing we think about first off, but we also don't think about the people who are living living alone with their mother who has dementia, who are alone, and they're fine living alone. But once you are alone and you really can't get the attention you need, physical or mental, and in person, or have people over when you want them to be, that's really rough for those people.
Oh, absolutely.
Kids with disabilities or adults with disabilities, and yeah, those are the things that I saw that really, it's like, oh yeah, kids had to move back from college. That's tough too. But man, there was some really tough.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I ran into an elderly woman at Trader Joe's a couple of weeks ago, and I said to her, "How are you doing, dear?" She's always dressed so beautifully. She's like in her 80s. I said, "How are you doing, dear, today?" And she says, "I'm kind of lonely." And I stayed there for 15 minutes talking with her, and I gave her my phone number, and I said, if you need somebody to talk to, please call. Because I can't imagine, being alone, being with people who are dealing with conditions. I'm very thankful you brought that up, because it's very true and very difficult.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, out of 800 images, or more than that, 800 families, I mean, I appreciate the slideshow and the images that are happening, and even the stuff that's on the website. There are hundreds aren't even up yet that are people that had to keep going to work and had kids at the house.
That's right.
And so, that it was definitely tough for everyone, but it's a lot. To sum it up into one word, like you go back to the question, was collaborative, but also, man, I learned so many lessons, and I was taught, I think, a lot this past 2.5 months.
Right. No, we learn as we go with these projects, and this project, especially this one, because it's dealing with life and death and so many other things. So your work is so appreciated. It's so, we love you for doing it, man, because it's great. It's important for people to know and learn about this and see people in their homes like this. What a creative way of showing it too. Let's go to some comments here, because there's been a flood of comments, and let's go to a bunch of these. So we have here Kevin House says, Jamie. Okay, let's go to Edward. Actually, Jamie, having your subjects photos taken behind windows makes an incredible statement. Like framed works of art, it is like a real life gallery where the subjects are behind glass. In a gallery, we see the print behind the glass on a wall. Here we see living beings behind glass in isolation, peering to the outside world in a gallery you are walking through in the real world, and the way you frame the image is the actual frame itself, telling us much more about how we all feel being isolated by, it's cut off a little, but I presume by the pandemic. So Edward is a great photographer, and he poses and makes the most incredible comments. So that was really, really a big one. But let's see. We have people tagging people to share your work. A lot of Prodnia is tagging a lot of people. Julia Weeks says that's a full day of work you have there. Let's see. Donna Palmer, I'm so honored to have photos of my grandchildren to record this historical time. Jamie and Leah are Memphis gems. Wow, that is beautiful, man. So, I just want to acknowledge some of the comments as they come in, because this is the magic of doing Facebook Live and doing these live stream lives, is you can have the comments come on and you can have people participate. Donna Palmer says, thank you for addressing those of us alone and visit my family through a fence. Okay. And Donna, thank you. Thank you very much for chiming in about that. So one of the things I want to do is I want to switch up here for a second, and I'm going to bring up one other thing here that I created here. And I'm going to go to share screen. And I'm going to go. So here are some more photos from your Quarantine Memphis project. I wanted to go through some of these. And why don't you talk about a few as I stop on a few? For example, this one, Jamie.
This is a local leader, Tammy Sawyer, who is just an awesome person, a wonderful man. I can't say enough great things about Tammy. This was one of the first week of pictures, I believe. I'm looking in the reflections to see if my children are back there, because they were working as assistants with me today.
They're not. You did a great job of keeping that out.
Yeah, Tammy is amazing, and is still, man, I don't even think she's sleeping right now. She is on the streets and working, with the city, the people in the city of Memphis to try to,
Sure.
make it better.
Sure. So how about this one right here? This is a very interesting photo.
Yeah, and this, they were, I can't remember. I think they were I can't remember if they were going to be married or if they were already married and it was their anniversary.
Sure.
But that's why the wedding dress was happening.
Okay.
And she, somebody asked earlier which was my favorite, and this is my favorite one.
Really? Okay, so talk about it. Tell us.
Pops up, and I don't know the people. I didn't know a lot of these people, of course. I don't know that many people for 800 people. But this one was a little bit further out, I think, in an area called Cordova. And, it was just this little girl's birthday, and they, had signed up and put on, wanted to document this. And that's just what happened. But, image-wise, they were already going to have a birthday.
Aww.
I think there's, 3 generations there.
Yeah, so sweet. So
I think that one really, especially during that month, during April, that was one that stuck.
Well, yeah, to have 3 generations like that, and that beautiful, beautiful little girl in the middle there, just a great capture and a great, thing to have. And I'm sure they appreciate it so much.
This is you went past Tad.
Right. No, please.
Tad's another Memphis treasure, man. That guy has been around. He is not from Memphis, but he lives in a warehouse, and that's his home behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is an artist. He's an anthro tourist, a tourism guide. He gives his 55 Cadillac in the background. You can rent him and the Cadillac to give you tours of Memphis.
Oh, wow. That's so cool, man.
American Dream Safari. And he's been doing that, man, half his life, it seems like.
Wow.
he's saved my life a couple times mentally for sure.
Oh man, what a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Really. Wow. That's okay. So now we're gonna get to some of the animals here.
Yeah, I did not know. I didn't really know these people. I mean, I think we had some connections, but yeah, this one they had a family of probably 5 or 6 there, but
Mm.
she was the only one that would fit in this particular window with the pig. That's what happened. But yeah,
That's a big pig.
they had a pet pig, which I imagine that pig's probably too big to pick up at this point because it's been a couple of months.
Well, I almost brought home a potbelly pig once, and somebody warned me how big it was going to get, and then I said no.
Yeah, they'll tear things up for
Here's
sure.
another beautiful family portrait here. Speak for a second on this one, not a second, but a few seconds on this, and then we'll we want to get through all of them.
Yeah, and a lot of them are blur. I mean, a lot of them are a blur. I don't think these people, I didn't know them that well, but everyone's been amazing. Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. This is interesting. I definitely thought this was very interesting. Obviously taken in either a barn or a garage.
Actually, yeah, it was right next to their house. I think it was a car that belonged to her father, maybe
Right.
he knew. I can't, her grandfather. I can't remember the details of it, but yeah. And then
So let me ask you a question as we're going through these. One of the things that pops in my head is the setup. So you're working with all this glass, you're working with all the lighting and everything else. So I read somewhere that you were actually getting a lot of ideas from the subjects themselves. Tell us about that.
oh yeah, well, generally, I think the ideas from the subjects they would have ideas before I would even get there from looking at the photos, and they were thinking about most people were thinking this is our biggest window. We can be in this window.
Sure.
And sometimes that would work out great. Eventually, I'm trying to think back. It's always, like I said, it's always a collaboration. I think I'm trying to think of specific details, but a lot of times people would say, "Well, why don't we do it over here?" And I'm always open. What I normally do is show up and say, "Look, I've got an idea from looking at your house, and then you have ideas. So let's do one, and then we'll do your idea, and then we'll do my idea, and then we'll do your idea until we run out of time."
Okay.
And a lot of times, several times I know if I see the picture, I would be like, that was their idea to be there, and I just made it work technically. Because sometimes it does seem like it can't work, and then when you push through, it's better because you at least you tried.
Sure. Of course.
That's the nerdy part of it, I think.
Well, some of these, where I like, wow, the family sitting on the ledge there of their house, just
that was their idea. I think a lot of times if there's options to get on the roof, the kids were never allowed to get on the roof, and now it's almost like everyone is agreeing, yeah, let's get on the roof. We need something different than sitting in the house. Right.
And a lot safer to be, not that any risk was involved. I'm sure everybody it was done very, very carefully.
All the viewer asked them to, of course.
Yeah.
I would say that's up to the parents.
Yeah, of course. And just as you were always practicing physical distancing with this entire project and making sure that everything was taken care of the way it should be, being the pro and being the great human being that you are. The other thing is right here. I mean, I love this one of the tuba outside thing because our son has been playing the bass clarinet and I hear it a lot in the house. I couldn't imagine a tuba.
I think his mother was also a musician. And the reason he's sticking out of the window is because you really couldn't see the tuba.
Okay.
With him in the window. And at this point, I was like, well, just stick your whole body out of the window.
No, it made for a great image. All your images are fantastic. I tell you, I had 2 other photographers on earlier, that went through their work. And Sally Ryan and Catherine Taylor, both COVID-related projects. And all of you are doing outstanding work. And so, I just look at the colors, the tones, dealing with all the glass, Jamie, that is one of the most difficult things with reflections and everything else. Some things obviously work to your benefit, and I'm sure a lot didn't, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of the people looking through the window at me where I'm crouching down and standing up and moving like a bird trying to see something, and you're moving around trying to get the trees to find the dark spaces so the people show up.
Right.
What's going totally his idea. Yeah, they, and if they have an idea, I'm like, well, let's do it. I'm not going to stop you, of course. And this was pretty early on.
Yeah. He's got the slicker on. He's got the Lysol. He's got everything. He's ready. He's got the major mask.
I actually shot their wedding a few years ago.
Right.
So that was one of the people I knew. And this is the Selvage family. And I think he's a musician. She's a filmmaker. I think he plays guitar for the Hold Steady.
This photo really hit me when I was going through all that. He's putting this presentation together for the second part of the show here because, by the way, folks, just so you know, this is Jamie Harmon, a Memphis-based photographer who's been doing this amazing Quarantine Memphis project. My name is Stephen Kaplan, and this is the Spin It Social Hour. For those of you who come in between, possibly, for those of you who've popped in, just wanted to let you know that please hit the share button and let everybody know about Jamie's work, this incredible project that he's doing. And we appreciate your care, concern, and sharing. So, Jamie, this photo hit me because when the girl here is reaching out and the other boy is holding the bars, it just made me think, God, we want to get out of this soon. But you know what? We must keep doing what we're doing and learning from the experts and making sure that we take care of ourselves and, more importantly, others, because we have to continue to physical distance, social distance, et cetera, et cetera. So this photo, the way she's reaching and the way he's grabbing the bars really grabbed me,
Yeah, that's true. We're going to be in this for a while.
We are. Thank you, for acknowledging that, because a lot of people, what happened here? I want to make sure everybody can hear me. For some reason, the mute button may have gotten hit. Let me make sure. Let me check with my assistant here, who I'm going to bring Jonathan on for a second here. Jonathan Borstein, my wonderful assistant. I apologize for not bringing you out at the beginning. I got caught up in banter and chit chat and everything and telling everybody about Jamie's incredible work. Jonathan, thank you so much for helping drive the car here and do everything that you're doing. Why don't you tell everybody about yourself real quick?
I am a full-time flaneur, sometime writer, and part-time tech.
Jonathan, we thank you so much for being here and helping out, sir. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Jonathan.
So I just wanted to get to that. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was also hearing us. So, going through a lot of these other shots too. You took every angle, you tackled every angle, whether it was just looking up at things like this, which is one of my favorite ways to take a lot of photos. Families in their doorways, families sitting in their beautiful windows that they have in some of their houses. This one right here, man, I got to tell you, when I got to this one, I was like, wow, that is, to me, you can't single out one photo out of a body of work like this, but I'm going to. This is one of my favorites.
Mine too. I think this would be my second. And the birthday was my first one for an emotional reason. This one would be my first one for just the colors and composition, and the people were willing to do whatever it took. That's another thing that was really great is we were all doing this together. They called me, I put out a call, and they called me, and we got together, every one of these people. So it was really, there wasn't that awkward, I guess the awkwardness of a photo shoot, of a portrait shoot was kind of gone, because people didn't see it as something like, well, this is kind of, usually if a family gets a portrait done, one person in the family wants it done, the other people don't want it done. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with a little bit of, not aggression, but, animosity, or right. I don't want to hear, when is this over? Or people feeling uncomfortable because they don't want to do it, and they might feel too vain or through whatever. But in this, it was more documentation, like, please, this is a part of history now. We all see that. It would be great to have some kind of image for that. So everyone was in. Right. And that really made it more special, I think, where people do whatever.
There's just something about these two faces and those two little window cubes there, and the colors of the yellow house on the side, the green, the look on their face. You just nailed this one. You've nailed all of them, but this one, like I said, if you have to pick a favorite, I'm picking this one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, no, thank you. It really is great. So, going around, we got to get to to the other stuff here too. Going around, man, you're a classic dude, man. You have the wonderful old VW, and all your equipment on it and going everywhere with it. I love this photo. Thank you for sharing it with me to be able to show everybody. So is this literally what you're walking around with here? This strobe and also the your one camera and your van?
Yeah, so the van is a '71 Volkswagen pickup truck that I bought in 1999. So it's been pretty much a daily driver for 21 years. And the gear was a battery powered Interfit S1, if anyone's interested, the 500-watt whatever. So mainly it was one light. Now I have two cameras. One is my old camera that was damaged and repaired, so I have a backup camera. And so I wound up just having a 16 to 35 millimeter on one camera and a 70 to 200 on the other camera, and then the one light source.
No, I mean, just
With one camera, but if one camera would have broken, then I would have been screwed. So,
oh, let me tell you, man, we all need to always keep that in mind, especially even with smartphones, which I do a lot of my social media work with visually, with videos and pictures. There always has to be a backup, always. You just can't do without it. Can't do without it. So I grabbed a few others that I found. I saw this one. I wanted to grab that one of you. A little surprise here of you doing one of the photos. Now tell us about this, because this was during an interview and also something that a radio station was doing, correct?
yeah. And I have to say the last picture was taken by Max Gersh, who works for the Commercial Appeal here. So they did a little story earlier on, and Max, I think that was all his idea. We met on a shoot for the first time. He moved to Memphis from Florida not long ago.
Oh, and Max, my full credit to you, Max Hirsch. I thought this was in Jamie's personal collection, and I didn't. I was thinking maybe his daughter took it or something. So my apologies. I hope that Max will be okay with me having shown this one photo. I never step on anybody's toes or work.
No, he's busting his ass in Louisville now for the past week, I think, documenting the protests. But yeah, so Max came out, and he followed me to a few houses, and this is one of his.
Okay.
The only picture I have of me working, probably, because all the other ones were of me standing at my vehicle. People took with their phones.
Right.
But yeah, so to move forward to the other one, blank his
Oh, it's okay. I think I can find it, actually. I think this was from the I'll tell you in a second. This was from the by the story by the interview with Christopher Blank from WKNO 91.1 Car Talk.
Yeah, so he did. He works for a local. I mean, yeah, he's great. He followed me around for a few houses, recorded, took a few pictures of his own, and did a great kind of an audio thing. I think it was on the local NPR station and on the I can't remember all the places that it showed up here, but it was really great. That Jesse Davis and Christopher did two great stories that really, I think, were wonderful because they focused on the people that were being photographed.
Right. No, absolutely. I read from Jesse Davis and the Bitter Southerner website, by the way. That's bittersoutherner.com, that I read the intro to as I narrated your photos with that wonderful short paragraph that I read from them. And also, excuse me, I just want to mention him one more time because he deserves it. Story by Jesse Davis. Always give props, always give credit where credit is due, folks. So here's what we were talking about earlier with the glass, with the reflections and everything else. I mean, but this one actually worked. I'm glad I found this because it really is. It's great to have some of these actually with you in them.
And I left, and that was one that I posted with me in it because I knew that it worked.
Yeah, it does work. It works magnificently. And, and here I believe that's your daughter on the right, being your assistant.
Yeah, Emmeline. She turned 15 during this pandemic, so wasn't able to get her learner's permit. she is great, despite the look on her face. Wonderful, and she really, she would want to go out.
Sure.
And then it got really hot, so that's no fun anymore.
Oh, no, well, no, when it gets hot. But I tell you, I wanted to go through some other things as we're talking here. You're so creative. I mean, I love this. I pulled this from some of your work and some of the things I found. But I want to move on after showing some of these, because I want to talk about Amurica World, as you would say, Amurica World, because of the way it's spelled, Amurica. I want to get to this right here because I really want to share with everybody. So I'm going to let you now drive the car for a minute here, pardon the pun, and tell us a little about this photo booth and this incredible thing you were doing for so long.
Yeah, so this was just a portrait project, just like anything else I might have tried. I bought that trailer off of eBay in the beginning of 2011, and it was just an old 59. It's called a 59. It's kind of an in between a canned ham and a teardrop, not to get too technical. So it's a weird size. It's not too big and not too small. Right. And set out to make a mobile portrait studio that took a very specific kind of picture. Now this is a different one right here.
Okay.
This is more of a mobile stage, but yeah, so once I did it and I used it, I started taking people's portraits in it. Then everyone wanted to rent it for an event.
Right.
So it became, once I did what I wanted to do with it, it really morphed into something that more was monetized into, can I have it at my wedding or bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, corporate events. And over the past 10 years now, it's easily taken over 500,000 photos in it of people that are either ran into me on the street or at weddings or so forth. So there's a massive archive of people like this taking portraits in this thing. So that's what it looks like on the inside. And it's a wide angle lens. So I don't know if you found any pictures. There was one picture where there's 26 people shoved in there. But it might take some digging to find that one.
Well, let's see what I got here. This one is phenomenal, man. When I saw this, it brought me back to the group that sang "Groove Is in the Heart." Delight, because this just right. Doesn't this remind you of that? I mean, it's just so like it reminds me of that video and that song. I love that song. But just what a great concept to get that. That van. Sorry, what would?
It's a camper. It's just
a camper, and go around and then have people fall in love with this type of thing. To have them then call you up for work. I love this one of the Mighty Souls. Tell us quickly about them so they get a plug.
Yeah, you're a local band made up of great musicians that play in other bands as well. And the guy behind the Mighty Souls, with right behind the bass or the tuba there. He's in, he was photographed. I can't remember if anybody else was. A few people here probably were.
But that's just beautiful work, man, inside of this camper and what you've set it up like. It really, this one grabbed me, and I had to show this one.
That was New Orleans. Those guys are out of New Orleans, a band called Bag of Donuts.
Why doesn't that surprise me? So many great groups and musicians. Just an incredible place, New Orleans. Yeah. And, just going through all of these, just amazing. But I love this one too of you. You advertise this, obviously. You go around and then people know, and then they come to see you and they have their photos taken, but it's, such a unique photo booth. I put all the information up so everybody knows. And it's also an original that it was built. But I read this. I was stunned. Over 500,000 portraits have been taken in your Amurica photo booth?
Oh, probably more at this point. I mean,
wow.
Years every weekend for 10 years. And there's some events where there's hundreds of yeah. I mean, it's wow. several hard drives full.
Wow. Incredible, man. Incredible. So one of the things I want to get to real quick is I want to go back up here, and I wanted to let people know about this because it's important, and I know it is. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen here for a second, and then I'm going to go to their site so we can make sure everybody knows about them, because this is a community effort and a group effort, and we want to get everybody out there who needs to get out there information-wise. And I think this is it right here. So I wanted you to talk about Crosstown Arts because I know how important it's been to you. So talk about that, Jamie, please.
Yeah, Crosstown. I mean, I know we don't have a ton of time, but Crosstown.
We have 10 to 20 minutes at the most.
Yeah, Crosstown Arts. They are a local, nonprofit that have really have a big support for the arts. And over the years, they've moved a lot more toward music. Against the Grain that you see there was something they started when this happened, when the pandemic and people were quarantined, for musicians to local musicians. It's very locally oriented, to send a video in, and they will post it. You can share the video. Tips can be made even from the recordings of it. Even if it's posted on YouTube, people can still tip and send money, and all the money goes to that musician. That's just one thing they've done. They also have an artist residency, a theater, the maker space, which I run for them. I can't even sum it up, but Crosstown Arts are really amazing people. They care about the community and the people that work for them. Since we closed, they have paid everyone's salary without getting the grant, I believe.
Wow.
Since it started March 13th. They really just take care of people, and they're good human beings, and they're doing the best they can with all the stuff that's happening. And this has hit them hard because everything they do is very crowd oriented.
Right.
Art exhibits to art residencies to music shows.
Right. Well, that's why I wanted to bring them into the picture here. Pardon the pun, intentional pun all the way. But I wanted to let everybody know about them. And I wanted people to know that, you can donate to Crosstown Arts. You can help them out. All of these organizations need our help during this incredibly difficult time. We want to support them, support our artists. That's why we're here on the Spin It Social Hour. We're here to make sure that you know about Jamie Harmon, his incredible dedication to the craft, to society at large, with the things that he's been documenting with this Quarantine Memphis project. And finally, one of the things I wanted to get to quickly, since we talked about Crosstown Arts, is I wanted to give everybody a quick look at your website for Amurica World. And we're going to go there right now because I want everybody to know about that. So let me get that up right here, and we're going to scroll up.
And that was mainly for the photo booth.
Okay.
At one point, I had a studio, and just other work. If you do some work for pay, of course, right, of it, and then there's the other stuff. But yeah, so the Amurica.com was mainly for the photo booth, which now is going to be shut down. For a while, because
right, of course,
in there. So that's another project that's definitely on hold
right,
for a while.
Well, I just wanted everybody to know about it because hopefully one day when this subsides, alleviates, whoa, got a very interesting one there. So sorry, it's a family show, folks, but everybody, has a photo here and a photo there. But anyway, it's been a wonderful hour, Jamie. I really appreciate you coming on here. We've had an incredible viewership for this, at least over 30 people watching live for the entire hour, which is really great. Tons of people chiming in. We've shown a bunch of the comments. We'll show a few more as we're, going off here. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about quickly was, what's your feeling about social media quickly with a project like this? I'm sure it's helped a lot. So many people have so many issues with social media, but people I work with and many people out there know how to use social for good, and I know you are. So tell us briefly about your work here with social media and how you feel about it.
I think that it is the only way I could have done this project when it comes to the way the world is now. I mean, there's no way this could happen without social media.
Right.
Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I tend to use Instagram and Facebook more because it's more visually oriented, and that's all I do. And I don't write a lot, so the photos make sense on Instagram, especially.
Right.
But yeah, so I see the negative in it, but I think it depends on the person. It's almost like anything.
Right.
It's very difficult to not, especially now. I don't feel that we need to look at social media and think there's nothing but negative stuff on it and turn it off. I think the stuff is real, and there's negative and then there's important and stuff that's dark. Right now, it's definitely a dark time.
Yeah, it is.
But it also is an important time to not look away from that stuff. I mean, with as much as you can handle it. I mean, you can't, if your own health is gonna demise from the depression, you've got to take care of that. And it can definitely be rough on that, especially people living alone that don't have anyone to sound off with, in person.
That's right.
I can speculate that. I don't really know because I live with 3 other people.
Sure.
So there's always someone to talk to.
Sure.
So yeah, there's good and bad, of course, and it's difficult to navigate. I don't really have an opinion for other people, but
no, absolutely. I just wanted to hear your thoughts about how you use social media and everything else. The rest is a whole nother show and a whole other topic. And it's a dark topic right now, like you said, but people, we no longer, people have to learn how to also filter their social media, because as a good friend of mine, a great journalist, David Beard, always says, at DA Beard on Twitter, is that we have control over our social to a large extent, and we can get rid of a lot of stuff on our social feeds, and we can put better, more positive stuff on and stuff that educates and other things. So there's a lot to it, but I thank you for sharing your thoughts about that. And one of the things that, as you progress forward, I'd love to see you do a little more of, just as a social media tip, is that, is maybe get into stories a bit more, because I'll tell you personally, for you, stories get so many eyeballs on them that I think it will help get your work out there, because we want to keep you employed. We want to make sure that you're earning a living. We want to make sure that there's always food on the table and a house over your head, all those things. And, you're an incredible artist.
No, thank you so much. And I've been talking about the stories and the narrative of this particular project since it started. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to do it in real time. But there are plans to do this and add the stories of these people that were photographed, as many of them that want to talk about it within the next.
And I was speaking specifically, I should have clarified about Instagram stories and all these stories.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. It was my bad for not clarifying that. I talk social media sometimes, and I go off like I'm in a room of social media experts sometimes. What I meant was, like, this story I created last night to tell everybody about us on Instagram. I was able to tag you on it, put tomorrow, let people know. I mean, over 200 people, I think, saw it. Yeah. So it really helps get the information out there. So one of the final things I do here, we have a couple of minutes going on the hour, and then I really want to keep it tight from now on, is I wanted to pull up my photo of the week. Now, this is a really difficult time. Like we said, it's the most difficult time I've seen in ages. And, we're all being, our senses, everything. It's just tough. And I'm going to let this photo speak for itself. It's from Catherine Taylor, who was on previously, who does the Who Do You Wear Your Mask For out of Boston. She's been documenting the protests and everything else. And we have to put a stop to all of this. And I'm going to let this photo speak for itself. And then I'm going to put it up and take it down. It's an incredibly powerful photo. And it breaks my heart. It breaks all of our hearts. And we have to do better, and we will do better. And we're not going to let it go by. And we're not going to give up on all of this. So that is my say on that. I really appreciate your time, Jamie. And, take care. Bless your family. And I hope that everything continues to go well. Folks, Jamie Harmon, make sure you visit his site. Make sure you visit his Instagram handle, Amurica World, AMURICA World on Instagram. follow him. He will check out all your comments on Facebook when he has time. He is working really hard. Give him some slack, but he will check out all of your stuff, comments and other things. But thank you once again, Jamie, and take care of yourself, okay?
Same to you. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure and a blessing to know you, man. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right.
Hang out for a bit. I'll be back, okay? Okay. So, folks, this has been the 10th show. I can't believe it. 10th show of the Spin It Social Hour. Once again, my name is Stefan Kaplan. I've brought the Spin It Social Hour here to make sure that you know about these photographers from around the world, learn about their work, know their journey, so that you can give them more work as life continues and hopefully when this COVID crisis subsides. But I want to jump to a few housekeeping things here about things that I wanted to tell you about quickly. Please, folks, if you want to learn about social media, there's no one better to learn about social media from than Sri Srinivasan, my dear colleague. We work on everything together, from the Pulitzer Prizes on down, and we've worked on with Princeton University. We do this type of production work with many, many organizations. If you have a production that needs to be done, we can handle it for you. Sri can handle it for you. Our whole DigiMentors group can handle it for you. But learn about the fundamentals of social media through Muckrack Academy. What an incredible thing here. Free certification course. Save your seat now at mrac.co, hashtag MRA Social for the Muckrack Academy Social. Register now for free. I think there's over 4,000 people now registered. So please do that. And it's been an incredible thing helping Sri with getting this going for Muckrack. And let me also tell you about the NYT Read-Along, Sri's Sunday Read-Along. This Sunday, Sri's been doing this for 5 years now, at least, with Anya Schifrin, who is his guest this week, author and former journalist. She teaches at Columbia's School of International and Public Affairs. Join our NYT Read-Along family on Sundays at 8:30, June 7th, and every Sunday. And then finally, I wanted to close with my next week's guest. I am so thankful to bring on Edwin Pagan, a friend, an incredible artist, photographer, cinematographer, and he's from the Bronx. And his Instagram is Pagan Images. He's part of, I'm going to say it loud and proud, Seis del Sur, a great collective of photographers who I know and I'm always proud to know, including Angel Franco, and David Gonzalez and others. And thank you, Edwin, for being my guest next week. And I look forward to having Edwin on. So I just want to say, folks, thank you very much. Please take care of yourselves. And thank you for everybody for sharing this work by Jamie Harmon. And be well. And I'll see you next week. Take care now.